Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney. I'm your host, Whitney Reynolds. Today we've been talking all about life changes. If you're at home and you are thinking, okay, I need to turn around, I need to do something, I need to go after my dreams, I hope today's stories have been so inspirational. Our next guest is Corri Fetman. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited you're here because your story is absolutely incredible. I feel like all of our guests today are just outstanding, you know, and to hear the stories, and I'm sure our viewers at home are just flabbergasted by your look right now because you
Thank you.
You look almost like a Barbie doll, just beautiful. And what's really interesting about your journey is you used to be a shy, very intricate tomboy, would you say? Shy?
I was so shy. I mean, I did not speak. I mean, I was a tomboy. I was picked on by my classmates. I was a loner. I didn't have any friends. I mean, I was like that nerdy kid in school
And
that,
you would,
you couldn't stand, basically.
And you would not get that at all based on like our interaction on and off camera because you when you walked into the room, it just kind of, poof, you were here.
Well, I came from a really dysfunctional, abusive home. It was very violent. There was alcohol, there was substance abuse. And so I came up with a transformation at a very, very young age.
Ooh.
It was a survival skill. It was like, okay, one day I'm like, I have to come up with a plan. So like Lisa, academics were my out. I always knew that I was smart, okay. I was very self-conscious about my body. I would dress, in big clothes.
Right.
But I knew that I was smart. I was very self-conscious about my writing because my family at home would make fun of my writing. They were all really, really good writers, and so I thought I couldn't write.
Wow.
I didn't speak much, so I came up with this alternative personality to get out of that situation, and I started working when I was 11.
Wow.
11 years old.
Now, were we talking like raking leaves or actually working?
No, we're talking, I changed my birth certificate, went for a job interview at a bakery, a local bakery, got the job, and they thought I was in high school.
Wow.
And so I started in the work world, and
at 11.
Yes, I was still very shy. Still very shy.
I've still been playing with my dolls then. I mean, I was a slow bloomer.
And I devised this plan that I was going to go to college. I was going to put myself through school. I was going to pay for college, and I started saving, and I did really well academically because, then you can get a scholarship. And I did. I got a scholarship to college, and I came with this lucky break. I didn't know what I wanted to do in college. I mean, I had no clue. I had a professor, it was a pre-law professor. He was actually a lawyer, and he was practicing. And he called me into his office. I was freaking out because I was very shy.
Yeah.
And
if a professor called me in, I'm a nervous Nelly. I would have been so nervous.
Exactly.
What did I do wrong? Oh
exactly. Called me in his office. He said, you got the highest grade on this test. Have you considered going to law school? And I'm like, well, I can't pay for it. I was working like 3 jobs as it was.
Right.
And he said, I'm going to write a letter of recommendation for you. I'm going to see if I can get you a partial scholarship to DePaul College of Law.
Wow.
And I did. I got a partial scholarship, and I worked my way through school.
Oh my goodness.
Put myself through school, and I was still very shy, though, Whitney. I was still
at
still
this point
shy.
When you were going to be an attorney.
Yes, I was like, I have to overcome this fear. Most of what I have done is fear, okay? And fear is false evidence appearing real, right? And you've got to get past the fear, you've got to look it in the eye, and you've got to take it on.
That is right.
So I went to law school, then I came out. It was a male-dominated industry. I couldn't stand most of the lawyers in the industry. I started my own firm. It was an all-women's law firm. I'm like, I'm gonna have all women.
I want to stop you there. So you still had this fear at this point.
Oh.
That would be like me wanting to be a talk show host and be like, and I'm not going to go to any social events afterwards because I'd be nervous. You have to talk in front of a courtroom.
Exactly, but you just do it. So I wanted to change the way people looked at lawyers. I wanted to change. I'm not your average lawyer, obviously. I don't think like the average lawyer. So in 2007, I came up with this ad campaign. I started training, started working out with a trainer. I was transforming my body at the time. I wasn't shy then in 2007. I came up with this ad campaign to change the way people look at divorce. Everybody looks at divorce like it's a stigma, like it's a bad thing.
Right.
And I look at divorce, it's like, why would you stay in an unhealthy relationship?
Wow.
I grew up in a situation where there was an unhealthy relationship. Why would you stay in this unhealthy relationship? So I came up with this tagline, and I wanted there to be, like my story, a light at the end of the tunnel. Education was the light at the end of the tunnel that got me to where I wanted to be. So I came up with a fantasy on a billboard billboard, and the tagline was "Life short, get a divorce."
Life short, get a divorce.
And so you can
and
look
if you're
at
in a bad situation, I'm sure a lot of people resonate with that. I'm sure
Absolutely.
if they're in that point where they know it's tough and they're just living in it just
Right.
to stay. Then
Well, my billboard was only up 1 week, Whitney. 1 week, and it gained international attention. Everybody said I was promoting divorce, which I wasn't. I was promoting healthy relationships.
Healthy
And saying, if you're in a
Light
bad
in the
relationship,
tunnel.
get out of the relationship.
Wow.
From there, I was training, I was working out. Playboy called. Once again.
Of course they did, because training, life short, get a divorce.
Right. So I'm
And you're
training.
smart. You're the.
Thank you. So they called, and then they're like, we want you to write an advice column, and we want you to pose. Well, that's not what a lawyer does, okay? Lawyers don't pose naked, right? And I still had that writing problem. I was still self-conscious about my writing. They wanted me to write a column about relationships, sex, love, and the law. I don't know anything about these things. I can research it. I know enough about it, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to delve in. I'm going to do this column. And I was scared to death.
You just looked it right in the face
I
again.
was scared to death to do this column. I was scared to death to pose.
Wow.
Scared to death.
Of course. Of course.
So I just said, okay, fine. I'm gonna go pose.
Do the whole enchilada.
I had to do 3 photo shoots, not just one. I had to do 3 photo shoots.
And
I was criticized by the legal community. They wanted to disbar me. They said I was, doing all these things that weren't, untoward towards the legal profession, which they weren't. From there, I wanted to transform my body more. So I said, okay, what am I scared of now? I'm scared of doing a bodybuilding and figure competition.
Wow.
My trainer was a pro bodybuilder. He's the abs on my billboard, by the way.
Oh my goodness, so we still have billboards. I love it.
We still have billboards.
Okay.
So I said, okay, you know what? I'm afraid of doing this. So I'm going to do it. So I started training.
Wow.
And just working out.
And I love the
And
motto.
I try to help my clients that way too. I try to help them through the fears because they're going through a really, really bad situation. And all of them have fears. All of them do.
And you are still a powerhouse here in Chicago. Where can people find out more about you?
My website is www.cfalawfirm.com. I also have a new ad campaign about civil unions. How civil is your union? I'm trying to get the same-sex marriage community to understand that they have to go through a divorce process also, and they should invest in a pre-civil union agreement to protect themselves.
You have a lot of things out there that you are shaking up, and I love it. We're going to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
You are an absolutely wonderful guest.
Thank you
so
much
for coming on.
Thank you.
Guys, coming up next, we're going to hear back from Lisa Lockwood on ways that you can have a life reinvention. We'll be right back.